Hello, everyone. I am Tim Boyum.
As a journalist,
So once and for all, will you accept the results of the election?
you get used to asking tough questions.
To be fair, I asked the same question. Do you think President Biden should run again in 2024?
But asking retired politicians to talk about aging in politics, that made me nervous.
Were you at all offended when I called and asked and wanted to talk about age and politics?
No, because one, I'm young, and two, I'm not in politics anymore.
No, not really. Nothing you do offends me, Tim.
Phew. The truth is, this former governor and former Supreme Court justice have a unique perspective on age and politics. They themselves in their 70s and still very much in the workforce.
Every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with.
This moment in the June presidential debate created a frenzy over the debate over the age and health of President Biden.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Almost immediately, President Biden faced calls to get out of the race even within his own party. But the next day in North Carolina, the president remained defiant.
Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to.
The question every voter should be asking themselves today is not whether Joe Biden can survive a 90-minute debate performance, but whether America can survive 4 more years of crooked Joe Biden in the White House.
When I saw the debate, I said this is just not going to be a good night for Joe Biden.
Former North Carolina governor and Democrat Mike Easley is now 74 years old himself.
I just thought he needs an audience. He really needs people. He can talk to people.
Easley never liked debates, even in his younger days.
I don't think debates do very much. But I guess a debate gives people some kind of insight into you. But when you're older, like Trump and Biden, you lose that quickness on recall and quickness on processing information.
But the concerns over 81-year-old Biden's age began long before the debate, his opponent pointing it out over and over in ads.
Look, I'm not a young guy. That's no secret.
Constant attention and often misinformation about President Biden's moments on stage with former President Obama or in Normandy have dominated social media. Real or not, 77-year-old former Supreme Court Justice Bob Orr, a former Republican now unaffiliated, says perception matters.
What does it look like to the viewers or the people listening? Do I sound as sharp and dynamic as I need to? And that really maybe has nothing to do with the quality of the performance in the job that you're running for.
That showed up again in July at a highly anticipated and highly analyzed NATO news conference when President Biden mixed up names again.
I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president.
Despite that moment dominating headlines, Governor Easley feels frustrated about the focus on performance over substance.
I'm watching the talking heads afterwards, and they say, well, this is not what we need to see. This is him in his element. We need to see him out, just with the general public. I'm thinking, wait a minute, you got a guy who's just giving you an entire lecture on foreign affairs. Isn't that what you want your president to know?
President Biden dominates the age discussion, but he's far from alone.
You're not as quick physically or mentally as you were in your younger years, but particularly if you're in a position of authority, it's hard to let go. I mean, look at Mitch McConnell.
He's referring to former Senate leader and still Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell, who is 82.
You had the situations where he literally froze on camera.
And a string of
none of us like to think we're slipping or not as sharp as we were 10 years ago or 20 years ago, and so yeah, I mean it's a challenge, and you don't want to hear people telling you that. I mean, I don't want to hear people saying, you know, or you really ought to let somebody else argue this case because you're just not as good as maybe you think you are or that you once were. And so there's a resistance to it.
At 78, Donald Trump is just 3 years younger than President Biden, but avoids the same amount of scrutiny.
I think there is a percentage of the electorate that just view this, and particularly the Trump phenomena, as this is just a reality TV show.
But Biden's campaign team has tried to make hay of Trump's mistakes as well.
Did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything? Deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things, like Nikki Haley is in charge of security.
But if age matters negatively, one might consider its strength as well.
Anything you learn from experience, that is a life lesson that you don't forget.
Justice Orr and Governor Easley have unique perspectives, which is why I wanted to get their take on how they feel still working in their 70s themselves.
Bow tie's crooked. Let me fix you up. Golly, Pete.
Mike Easley is a former district attorney, was attorney general in the 90s, and served as governor from 2001 to 2009. He's 74 and to this day still does law work, including jury trials.
You know, I see my son do a press conference now and rattle things off. Blah, 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 blah.
His son, the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District in North Carolina.
And they will send a strong message that we aren't going to tolerate gun violence in this community.
I think, man, I remember when I could do that. Now, I still know the same things he knows, but I can't get them out as quickly, and I can't recall them as quickly. I think I found I had to focus a little more. Think about focusing a little bit more.
Even though you got to think a little more, whatever, you're still doing the job as well as you did 10, 20 years ago.
I don't know. Somebody else would have to tell you that because I was doing different kind of work.
Well, we learned that the NCAA is going to have to comply with the antitrust laws of the United States.
Bob Orr, now 77, is a former state Supreme Court justice, ran for governor in 2008, and to this day remains active in the courtroom. Asked him if he feels as sharp today as even 10 years ago.
Yeah, I do. Now, the question is, am I as sharp as I was? I think everybody's an individual case.
There are no age limits for the U.S. Supreme Court. However, a 72-year age limit exists for judges in North Carolina, although it was just raised to 76 for the Court of Appeals and State Supreme Court.
A nonpartisan reconsideration of how the Supreme Court, maybe the entire federal judiciary, should operate is merited.
I think some of the best, most experienced judges on the appellate bench do their best work in their later years. Oliver Wendell Holmes, he was 90 on the United States Supreme Court, and he wrote some of the most insightful opinions that you'll read.
The debate over age nearly always comes back to health, even beyond concerns of cognitive decline.
I certainly had no difficulty in supporting Joe Biden when he ran in 2020. Okay, now the question is, over the course of the next 4 years of the presidency, how well will he do? And this is true of Trump. This is true of a lot of people in that age range. We are all sort of on the cusp of some sort of health incident that we can't predict.
Calls for candidate cognitive testing continue across the country.
If there are signs of early onset dementia, wouldn't you want the public? The public needs to know that.
I could see it being done, and I could see candidates agreeing to it. I just don't think it tells you much, because when you're asking somebody to be, as you pointed out, leader of the free world, whether they can say the ABCs backwards or not is not that important. It's like, what is the experience? What is the judgment? What is the leadership ability? If I was still governor and I had people questioning, my ability, I would not hesitate to ask the doctor to give me a neurological test, and if they thought I was slipping too much, then I would probably just get out of the business and get on the boat and fish or something.
And for those complaining about your choices at the ballot box, Governor Easley has a simple message.
I think the thing you say to them is, you run. If you don't like who's running, you run. Well, go out and find somebody that you think's a good candidate and get that candidate to run.